Right, good evening all. Welcome to Fairlight Parish Council general meeting on the 28th of January. Right, the Chair will invite members of the public to, make sure I'm not getting it in the wrong order now. Public to come or ask for questions on any matters in respect of the business on the agenda. Please note, questions cannot be asked in respect of confidential items. Do we have any questions on items? Chris, yes? Do you want to mention it now when we get to the point?
If I just tell you roughly.
Go on in.
So it's with regards to item 9, planning applications, I'm uncertain what the consideration is tonight. Depending on how the conversation goes, I may have a question.
It just means if you give the clerk delegated authority, then if there's a planning application that needs objecting to, then I can email round to the councillors before having a planning meeting. So it just means that we can object or comment before the actual planning meeting. So if the deadline is sooner than the meeting, then but obviously all the councillors, it'll be a majority vote by email.
The authority to make a decision isn't solely yours.
No, it will be as it is in a planning meeting, but we'll just be able to make comments before the deadline. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No questions.
Okay. Anyone else?
Basically, it was the same question as Chris. So I just wondered why we need to go down that road when we got an actual planning committee.
It depends on when the deadline turns up. The deadline for some would have been today. For one of them, what would have been today. However, it has been extended, but we're never notified as to whether or not that extension has gone through.
Okay.
And we don't actually know about it until it comes up on the planning portal. But if they're too early, then the council cannot make a decision about it. Okay, so what Danielle's saying is that she will pass the email around generally to all the councillors. All the councillors will make a comment as to whether to object or not, and then Danielle can put the comments on the portal as per that. Yeah, so it'll be for those where the deadline is a bit on the short side.
Just to let council know, I think usually they do let you comment a few days after though, if necessary. So if it doesn't make a massive difference if it's a yes or a no to the question, because usually you can email the case officer and then they can let you comment the day after the planning meeting, I think. So it's
just being convenient to keep them to do that. It's just one more better thing to do.
Yeah, right, it's just one less thing for the clerk to have to sit around and wait. Bear in mind that there are checks and things that need to be done as well after the Parish Council meeting.
Exactly.
Okay, to receive reports and ask questions on county councillors. Okay, so county councillors, whoever's first, it's up to you.
I've been pointed at by both of my district colleagues.
It's up to you, Charles.
They want me to go first. Just to bring you up to speed, I guess, on what has been talked about both in the press and indeed I think a number of people now are aware of the government's drive, and again I will, as always, I should try and not make a directly political point but just comment on the narrative. So that is that the government want to see a reorganisation of local government and devolution, and those two have to be seen as separate things. So in terms of the reorganisation of local government, what they want to see is unitary authorities up and down the land. Now you'll be aware, for example, Brighton and Hove is already a unitary authority. And what does a unitary authority mean? It basically means, in layman's terms, the abolition of districts and boroughs, the abolition of the county council to be replaced by a one council that would be under the existing boundaries. So if you like, East Sussex would become a unitary. That in itself is a major task, because obviously you have, if that happens, you would have to equalise council tax, you would have to look at the assets of all the districts and boroughs, and they all vary widely in terms of their reserves and indeed the public in which they serve, because obviously you've got 5 districts and boroughs in East Sussex. That's going to be a Herculean task in itself if it happens. The second part, which is the more controversial part for a lot of people, is that the government will only allow that to happen if you adopt a mayoral model. So you would have, as things stand, in the application that's gone in, East Sussex unitary, West Sussex unitary, Brighton and Hove unitary, with a combined authority with a mayor on the top of that, sitting atop of those authorities. And that mayor would have specific responsibilities which would include those of the current Police and Crime Commissioner and the Fire Service, amongst others, but it would be a strategic lead, whereas, for example, just so that nobody's under any illusion, you would still have adult social care and children's services being run by the unitary authority. The application has gone in. We will know, if not this week, next week, whether or not it is likely to happen. The other, again, controversy around this is the government want to, if it is to happen, they want to have a very much speedy, for want of a better phrase, a very speedy transition. What that would mean, almost certainly, although again, we haven't had the letter back if it's happening or if this part is happening, and that part that I'm referring to now is that the elections that would happen this May, it is likely that they would be postponed. So you would have a mayoral election in 2026 and you would have a unitary election in 2026, more probably 27. So there's an awful lot to digest there. Obviously, an awful lot of work's gone on behind the scenes to get to the point of where we are at the moment. That letter, when I talk about the application, the letter that's gone off, that's gone off from West Sussex, East Sussex, Brighton and Hove. It would be wrong of me to suggest that everybody is in agreement that this is the best way forward. There are concerns about the pros and cons from representatives of all political parties and those of none, because the danger is the government think that there's a one-size-fits-all. The reality is there are concerns, and again, without making a political point, Chairman, personally speaking, my greatest concern is around planning, because I think that you will be aware of the numbers that central government are talking about. If you were being very positive, you could say, well, allowing a strategic role with a mayor could mean that you will have the right houses in the right places. If you were pessimistic, you could say that the danger is that they could take planning decisions away from local people. So the devil is in the detail. That is a concern that may not be borne out in the reality. But the other concern is if we don't do this, the resilience of authorities, doesn't matter which tier they are, and I'll go on to talk about that a little bit more in a second. I don't want to bore you, but while I've got the floor, I mean, in terms of resilience, both in terms, particularly in the districts and boroughs around recruiting staff, we are now in a really dangerous place. I mean, and again, I don't make a political point, but I say this because it's fact. When I led Rother District Council back in 2019, we didn't have any consultants, fixed-term contracts, people that were employed on temporary contracts. We've now got almost permanent temporary people, if that makes sense. But resilience, particularly around the planning service, is something that worries us all. And if something doesn't happen, the problem is if you're a planner and you work in the public sector, what you earn, roughly speaking, is half what you'd earn in the private sector. So public sector wages, why a lot of people will say, rightly so, that in the public sector people have wonderful pensions, etc., etc. The challenges around recruiting staff is now something that, particularly at district and borough level, is very difficult. The financial difficulties for districts and boroughs and for upper tier authorities is there for all to see. And the government have said that they're going to look at, obviously, adult social care reform. I'll just say now we've had the budget that's gone through Cabinet today, subject to full council, will see those savings that have been consulted upon happening. We are in a precarious position going forward. I mean, there is a balanced budget on the table for County Council. Colleagues may wish to comment upon the rather one as we go forward, but the reality is, and it doesn't matter which political colour is in control, but if you look at the finances pretty much of any council up and down the land, you will see in upper tier areas, so either unitaries as well, the adult social care and children's services. When you look at children's services, and I think, and again, don't minute this, but I think I'm right in saying, I seem to remember I've been to so many meetings, meeting fatigue. I think children's services costs over the last 4 years have gone up 128%. So it gives you an idea of the growth there. In adult social care, and this is the point that hopefully there's a benefit there, because the idea is that they will lobby government hard. Because at the moment, the government's just announced extra funding for areas of deprivation. Well, we didn't get any, not a penny. Because East Sussex as a whole, the government think is a wealthy county. The reality is Hastings, Hailsham, parts of Bexhill, parts of the rural areas, there is deprivation, but the government doesn't recognise it. But the reality is that it's adult social care. We need to make absolutely sure that the government understand that we are a unique demographic here. I think Bexhill has the claim of being the highest number of over 85s in Europe, I believe. Again, a statistic perhaps not for minuting, so I don't want to be challenged on that, but that was the case about 2 or 3 years ago. But we have got a population that is significantly older than most. And the other thing to say is that in terms of business and trying to attract business to East Sussex, we've done an awful lot in the past to try and get businesses here. But the trouble is, in terms of access, in terms of infrastructure, the fact that there are no motorways in East Sussex, the fact that you can't trade with fish in the channel, it is not that attractive to businesses. But I make the plea, as always, we've got to talk up our opportunities. There are opportunities in what the government are putting forward. There are concerns, but we just need to address it in a pragmatic way, and people not to get on a soapbox and actually understand there is reasoning behind what the government want to do. There are pros and cons to what they want to do. We've just got to make sure the fundamentals. Doesn't matter what colour your respective councillors are. You're all trying to do your best for the residents that you represent, and that's what we will do. In terms of local stuff, I see that there's a comment about the Battery Hill road markings. Having just looked at it today, and I will have the steward out, not the steward, I will have a senior steward out tomorrow. I've gone further up the stream because I'm going to be looking at some of the lanes, and they're not in Fairlight, but you'll know the ones I'm referring to. They're called lanes, but I call them cart tracks. We're going to have a further look at those tomorrow with the senior steward. I will bring the senior steward out to, he's the boss of all the stewards, out to Fairlight, because I will look at Battery Hill, because I think the bigger problem there, and I'm sure others will have a view, it's not just white lining, and there's white lining obviously through the centre of the road there as well, which I will get him to look at, but the other issue is overgrown vegetation, which your former councillor and his wife have raised with me on a couple of occasions. Your former district councillor has raised with me on a couple of occasions, so we'll be looking at that as well. Just another reminder, while I've got the floor, and I have gone on for far too long, but just to report potholes where you see them. Yet again, I had another very irate lady talking to me yesterday about a big pothole. She was right, it was a very big pothole, but she hadn't reported it. She thought somebody else had done it. So just a reminder to everybody, where you see them, whether it's a blocked drain or a pothole, please report it, and if it doesn't get done, then drop me an email.
Thank you, Carl. Just to pick up on the point you said there about the devolution, parish councils are the lowest of the low. I'm concerned for the amount of work that a parish council is likely to be involved with the devolution. If more strategic training is going to be given to parish councillors with regards to planning, and yet the planning portal, people are going to say, oh, forget that, it's going to go ahead anyway. That's totally wrong in my opinion. As soon as more information comes through from either county or from district councillors, I'd like that information passed on to our parish
Absolutely, absolutely.
council, because I'm very, very concerned that we are going to end up with doing more work. We are people which don't get paid. We have a clerk who is paid. At the moment, the clerk is on a certain number of hours. I can see that number of hours increasing for a clerk, for a parish council, for the amount of work that she's going to have to do. The amount of work that the parish councillors are going to have to do is going to have to increase as well. And yet we've got people, there are people on this parish council and other local parish councils who work. They work from 9 till 5 or 8 till 6, whatever the case would be. They're not going to be able to get in and do their job. There's just going to be too much for them. Something needs to be done with the lowest of the low. We are here to look after the residents of Fairlight and Fairlight's money. We won't be able to do that if devolution, from my point of view, comes in too strict and starts kicking backsides to the parish councillors. So
Can I just reply to that?
Yeah.
In terms of, I've made it very clear, and so have other senior councillors, that we want to make sure that parish and town councils, whether it's through the forums that you go to or it's directly through, obviously people like members talking to parish councils, that you're fully informed throughout. If it does happen, the moment it goes green, I will certainly put something out to all of the parish councils that I represent. But the devil is in the detail. I mean, for example, the other thing that residents are already asking me, well, if you haven't got district councils, is it just going to be one member? And the answer to that is probably not. What we have heard so far, if it does go ahead, is that they won't, which surprised me, to be frank. It's unlikely that they'll do a boundary review in the first instance. I think what they will do, and again, perhaps not for minuting, because again, this is conjecture, I think what they will do is simply double up. I think there'll be 2 members per division. I think that's what they'll do. But in terms of that devolution of parish councils, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree that I think ultimately parish councils will do more. But there are opportunities as well, providing that if you're asked to take on the responsibility for something, that you get capital funding to start that off, and that's a conversation obviously we have on an individual basis. I have to say, Royal, they haven't been very good at doing that, because they're obsessed, or have been historically, with freeholds versus leaseholds. But the reality is, there will be opportunities as well. Again, it's pros and cons for parish councils, but I certainly agree with you. And again, the whole area of planning is something I think that whether you're a town council, parish council, district, county, borough, the planning one is the one that concerns me, because the government have made a very clear intention on what they want to see. Our job, as far as I'm aware, and I'm sure my 2 district colleagues would agree, and I said this in my first election lecture when I stood back in 1999, and that was, our role as far as I see it is protecting the AONB. That's the fundamental, and that's what worries me.
I totally agree, thank you. Andrew Ortiz.
Andrew,
yes, I think Carl. Thank you, Carl, because you've stolen my thunder completely on what I was going to say. But I perhaps just pick up 1 or 2 points there. Devolution. I think when the government talks about devolution, I think it's really meaning devolving functions from Whitehall to the mayoral authority. Probably. It's not entirely clear to me. On the other hand, they are committed to localism, and this, I think, Steve, is what you were getting at. Localism follows on from the Localism Act 2011, and it's allowing decisions to be taken at the point closest to the people, which in our case here in Fairlight is the parish council. So yes, you can expect more. Well, there are no lavatories. I don't think there are any rather assets worth talking about, which could be devolved to the parish council, but we shall see. Whereas Pett, of course, has a real problem, and Icklesham has a real problem. So that's a slightly different thing. But the government remains committed to localism. Parishes are only mentioned 3 times in the white paper. But, as I say, that does include a commitment to localism, and I think a commitment to further professionalising parish councils. It's very cryptic, but I think that's what they mean. and it might conceivably involve training, it might involve standards for clerking and things of this sort. I don't know. I'm putting entirely my own loss on that. I think also the standards regime, which is completely toothless at the moment, is almost certainly, and independently of the white paper, going to be toughened up. So there will be teeth there, and the monitoring officer will be a much bigger figure in your dealings. Otherwise, the planning committee, under devolution, I think there is some precedent for there being area committees within unitary authorities. So there will be a need to have people on planning committees who know local issues and know the ground. So I think it might be done that way. I'm slightly reassured to hear what Carl says about doubling up the number of county councillors, because there will be a need for a sufficient number of councillors to fulfil the sort of functions that we're used to county and district at the moment dealing with. But the white paper does see the fact of there being fewer councillors as being a good thing. You may or may not agree with that. They also see the fact that there would be fewer elections as being a good thing, which is quite interesting. And one last point on the elections is that we don't know the means by which the mayor, if there is one, the mayor would be elected. We don't know. So watch that space, I think. Still on the subject of planning, but moving away from the white paper, there is a separate discussion, consultation document out about planning committees, to which I hope that Robert will be responding. It's interesting, if not alarming, that the proposal seems to be that where the local plan, in this case would have been Rother's local plan, presumably it becomes a unitary local plan, where the local plan has allocated land, say Wakeham's Farm, allocated in the plan for, say, 35 houses, then if an application comes in conforming with what is there in the local plan, then that would be rubber stamped by officers without it ever coming to a planning committee. And of course the right for a councillor to call in one of those applications to the planning committee would go. It doesn't say that in terms, but it's what it means. And I find that very, very worrying. Partly because, as we have seen with the Wakeham's Farm, sometimes the facts are a bit different from what the inspector thought at the public inquiry into the local plan. Sometimes the policy has changed, as I think it had in that case about groundwater flooding. Plus, of course, there's an awful lot of judgment in what is right and what is wrong, and what looks right and what looks wrong. And to see that all abrogated, as it were, to officers, I find very unsettling. And I hope Robert's response will be robust, and if it isn't, I'll respond myself. So, moving on. The market garden. I think we are probably all agreed that the houses are too big, too tall, overbearing, with too little land with them. I think I can say that without reasonable contradiction. At least here, the Robert's interim contracting set of planning would disagree with me. I've tried to analyse how we got to that. How did that get through the system? And to cut a lot, and I have written to the interim head of planning expressing my views, and I think that somehow everybody, officers, parish council, myself, everybody was unable to read the plans properly because they were inadequate. Now, they were inadequate in that they didn't clearly show the relationship of the new houses to the existing ones. And there were certain discrepancies as well in the heights shown. There were insufficient sections through the site to show the relationships. And we were all, I think, conned. Now, when a planning application comes in, it has to be validated. And there is before it goes to a planning officer, there is a thing called a validation checklist, and this is a mixture of government requirements for what has to be in a planning application and local factors decided by Rother, and they're combined into one document. And my view is that the validation checklist was not adequate to avoid these plans slipping through the system. And once it had got through the system, I don't think the original planning officer understood the relationships, and the rest of us didn't either. And we were shocked when we saw what we got. But I say I'm doing what I can. It won't do us any good here, but it might save some other village somewhere else from a similar disaster. The Rother budget.
Sorry, Andrew, before you, just on that point of the plans not being read properly, have you seen the Fairlight protocol for planning that was sent to Rother and allegedly passed at the Parish Council meeting in June 2020?
Yes.
It's not minuted that it ever got to that stage.
Is that why it's described as a draft on the agenda for the planning meeting you've just had?
Yes. Have you seen it?
I have seen it, and
Okay.
I participated in drafting it.
Right. Well, as I explained in the planning meeting earlier, I've seen the paper trail of that. Stephen Ledbetter thought it was a great idea, and he suggested that he would take it to the Parish Council meeting. It's not minuted anywhere. It's not on any of the agendas. It's not anywhere on the website either. Now, I was the vice chair at that time. I never saw that protocol. Never saw that. I was at the planning meetings all of that year. Never heard of it, and wasn't asked to put it on the Parish Council meeting. Put it on the website either. If you've got a copy of that, from our point of view here from the planning meeting, we plan to send that back to Rother again, as far as I'm aware, particularly with events that might happen with Wakeham's, because they're not adopting what we asked them to do. It was sent back by Rother saying that they have already do all of that anyway. No, sorry, they do not. They do not.
Yes, yes. I mean, you've got me cold there on trying to remember what happened, but I think it was accepted by the protocol was accepted by Rother, and the Fairlight Preservation Trust had a big hand in it. I suppose it wouldn't, if it was agreed by Rother, then it wouldn't need to be agreed here, because Rother is the planning authority, and they're the ones who would follow.
But the only comment that came back was that Rother said that they already deal with everything on that protocol.
No, sorry.
Not that they passed it or they'd agreed it, but they'd already do all of that. They do not do all of that on that protocol.
When was your communication with Rother?
It happened in 2020.
2020.
2020.
Not recently.
No,
Not
definitely not. Only in 20.
Yeah.
Nobody on the parish council, and I've confirmed with Lynn and Jeff, neither of them saw that either come to the parish council meeting.
Well, perhaps we can discuss this privately, and Tim and I can take it up with the planning department.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thank you very much. Yeah.
There's also the leaflet that was produced by the professor, wasn't there, which was advice to people living on the cliff, and that has some planning matters in it as well, which these things can get forgotten, the folk memory fades.
Yeah.
Things need reviving sometimes.
Okay.
Yes, the Rother budget, we are eating into reserves. As Carl says, nobody knows what will happen to our reserves. I would imagine that the government would resist the idea of us spending the money in advance of the changes. So we're going to have to continue to be frugal, I'm afraid. In the case of county, we've heard the cost of social care, which is increasing alarmingly. Carl was absolutely right about that. In the case of district councils, the big increase is homelessness. There's a statutory duty to house the homeless. Rother has been in quite a good position there because we have bought property in which we can house homeless people. Other authorities, Hastings has a far worse problem. They have far more homeless people, and they have to rent properties, and of course the cost of renting has gone up enormously. So Eastbourne, Hastings are in real difficulty because of that. But it does affect us all to a greater or lesser extent. And lastly, it's a request to Carl. When you've got the steward down, up by the Cove pub, there's the pavement there.
I'm still doing it.
It's been a year, it has been reported. And I've corresponded with them as well. And it still hasn't been done, and I don't know why.
I can enlighten. I'm still dealing with it. They've closed the case 3 times now, and I've made them reopen it 3 times. And the latest one is they haven't reinstated it because of the stagecoach haven't put the bus stop back up. But I've suggested it goes to the enforcement officer to get hold of stagecoach.
I corresponded with the man at county because I was told that reason. And I said the safety of the pavement is your responsibility, not stagecoach or anybody else.
So that's really wise as well.
We'll have a conversation tomorrow. Are you about tomorrow, Jen?
Can be.
Right.
Okay.
Can film me later.
Anyway, that's me done.
Thanks, Andrew. Tim, you got anything else to add?
I've got a good 20 minutes worth.
CB after.
Just to, no, I mean, not to prolong this too much, but parish councils are my key concern here in the devolution process. However, that comes about that there's a balance as power moves up the ladder, that it flows down as well, and that will put more pressure on the parishes. But I think parishes need to become more powerful because they're still the closest point of contact to the public. And I think rather than waiting to hear what happens, I'd rather, if I can, meet with you guys separately and Andrew. And I've said this, I've extended the same invitation to Pet. And I think, we want to hear what the parishes have to say and ideas that we can start lobbying as all the consultations and all the papers become drafted into legislation. As Carl says, the devil's in the details, so let's try and influence the detail as much as we can in our favour.
Okay.
Just before I have to go off to the wonderful world of Breed, because they've also got a parish council at the meeting tonight, and I don't say that flippantly, I'd much rather stay here, and I don't say that flippantly either. On a serious note,
Do you want that ministry card?
if it doesn't happen now, if for whatever reason government say no, you're not in this first tranche, it will happen in the not too distant future. That's something I think, because let's be blunt, the previous government was doing something similar, but on a less, I choose my words carefully, a less insistent way. But I think that the reality is this will happen, whether it happens now or in a couple of years' time. The reality is it will happen. The devil is in the detail. And again, my other creeping concern is that central government, frankly, regardless of colour, generally has not a particularly good understanding of the rural way of life. They tend to be quite urban-centric, mainly because most of the mandarins live and work in the city. But they tend to be, and the mayoral model does, I think most would agree, works quite well where you've got a city being administered. But does a mayoral model really work where you've got you know, a city, a number of big towns, a lot of rural, lots of, you know, it's, the devil is in the detail, and I think that there will need to be, as Andrew's indicated, I think the opportunity to try and finesse it so that we keep it local. I have to say, without making a political comment, whilst I hear Andrew's optimism about localism, I'm not so sure that is their agenda at all. I think it's the other way. I think this is an opportunity for government to take control of things that have up until now been, that, you know, very much in the embrace of local of district and borough councils, for example. So, but the devil will be in the detail. We'll keep you informed. And on that note, that cheery note, I will. Unless you want me for anything else on the agenda, because I've really got to get to Bree.
No, you're okay. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you very much indeed. And if anybody wants to contact me, ring or email, perfectly happy to do that.
One could, Carl, I've emailed you several times now about this gentleman.
Yeah, I've got that on the list as well.
What, for tomorrow?
Yes.
Right, okay.
And if you could drop me a reminder issue, an email on the update, because I'm going out, I should go out there about 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh,
I can
right.
get it before 11. So.
Okay.
I did get an update only today
You
that
did.
they're now verifying who the landowner is. So I take it.
Because I did kick it up your email upstairs to the right person, but sometimes they don't respond as quickly as they should.
Michael?
Chair, may I suggest a vote of thanks to the councillors here for their excellent reports on the situation, which is going to become increasingly important and increasingly preoccupying.
Thank you.
Yep, we're going to send that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Right, to record any apologies for absence. Stephen Baker.
Yeah.
Is Paula. You want me to do this right away?
Oh, yeah,
Thank you. Right, code of conduct and disclosure of any interests. Do we have any?
I declared an interest in item 11.
Thank you. If we get to the item and any councillor realises that they've got to declare an interest, they can do it at that point. Okay. Okay. Number 5, co-option of councillors. Fill the vacancy at Fairlight. The valid applicant's application form will be circulated to all councillors before the meeting. The candidate will be offered the opportunity to speak, and at this point it's David. Very nice, thank you. The candidate will be offered the opportunity to speak to support their application. This will be followed by a vote by way of a show of hands. A declaration of acceptance of office to be completed after the co-option if the said person accepts. David, anything you want to say?
Apologies in advance if I sound a bit funny, I've just had 2 teeth out. I've got a very sore mouth. I've been a resident of Fairlight for just coming up to 21 years. I have served on the Parish Council before for about 7 or 8 years, was it? Something like that. And I've been inactive and I feel as though I want to get involved again, so
Okay.
if accepted, I'm willing to do my bit again.
Okay, fine. So can we have a show of hands as to taking David on to fill the co-opted space, please? All in favour?
Sorry, just to point, Steve.
Go ahead.
Are we going by the latest policy? Because we'll have to accept that we want to carry on with the because of the strange policy which was introduced a couple of years
This
ago.
is the policy that's on the website.
Yeah.
Is that
We have to technically accept whether we want to
co-op?
carry on with the co-op process and then vote.
Okay, do you
Yeah.
want to carry on with the co-op process?
Yes,
Carry on?
Please.
Yeah? Okay. And can we now have a show of hands to accept David?
Yeah.
Okay? Happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, David, would you like to sign the necessary declaration form? In this case, you can then take a seat up the end there by Michael.
I wasn't last time, was it?
Okay, and then date 28.
That's fine.
Thank you. I'll send you, I'll phone you tomorrow. Do you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a ring tomorrow. There's things I need to send you through.
Yeah, that's the trouble. It's coming, but
Like
it's
picture of
just
your
one
face,
stone.
email address. No, we do it tomorrow.
Yes.
So it's not so much money, yeah.
Send it by email.
Yeah, if we can have an update at some stage. But you can send it by email because then I can just move it onto the website. Right, okay. Please take the chair at the end. Yeah, I know. Okay, on to the next subject. To agree the 25-26 budget. Who wants to run this? Jeff? Daniel?
I was just going to say the only changes that I've made since last time we went through it, but obviously not all the councillors were here, were they? The only changes that were made were the 750 being taken off section 135 and then put onto the War Memorial cost, which then went up to 1,000, and that's the only thing that was changed. I did speak to the insurance company about the War Memorial being covered. It's not, but I am waiting for EB Sculpture to give me a rough estimate of a reinstatement price, cost, sorry, if something was to happen to it. Then once I've got that, then I can give that to the insurance company and see if they're going to charge how much for that. Yeah, and then, but that should be able to be on the February meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're not. Is it not on church land?
Yeah.
I asked them if it was covered and they said it's not covered.
What the church says it's not covered.
Oh, I didn't ask the church, so I asked our insurance company.
Yeah, well, it's on church, isn't it on church land? That's what
It is on
it
church
says.
land.
Yeah, so therefore it should be covered by the church insurance.
I don't know.
realise,
It
I'm
could
sorry,
be technically our asset.
Yeah.
A bit of a
on
strange one.
church
Needs
land.
verification.
But it's like every other memorial that's on the church property. If it breaks or anything, the church aren't responsible for it.
Okay.
If you want to replace it, but yes, I think we need to ask in the first place.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll speak
Okay.
to the church and on it.
So down as a listed asset.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had the budget here with me.
I'll put it on the screen.
Can you? I just want to know what the
It's probably a
Great,
good
so-
idea to go through it all again, just
Yeah.
to double check.
where was that? I don't want to itemise anything, Jeff. But if there's anything up there that you think might need mentioning, if you could mention it. The only thing that I would like to mention is the fact that last year's budget was 95,000 for the precept. This year's budget, in view of some few people seem to think that we can't do it. We have done it. The budget is under 75,000, so it's £20,000 less, which means everybody in the village will pay less. Okay. It's no big deal. It was quite easy to do, but it is under £75,000. Jeff, is there anything there that you wanted to highlight particularly?
The only unknown, and it is an unknown, is it's coming up later on the agenda is CCTV.
Okay.
But it's not an amount to worry about.
Okay. Quite a bit of discussion has gone into this, to dealing with this budget. Because yes, we want to get it right. Nobody likes to overspend on a budget. We do have earmarked reserves for any problems that might arise, and that has all been discussed as well. So do we have to have a show of hands to agree the budget?
Yeah, are you sure you don't want to go through it line by line just in case?
No, I don't think so. I think we did that last time that we were here.
Yeah, we did go through basically line by line.
Yeah.
Line by line, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I'd say is that I don't know if anyone's confused about the VAT side of it. I had my own version of this where I showed the VAT figure just for illustration purposes of how it's had its VAT is nothing to do with the budget.
We don't take that into consideration at all. It's all net values on the budget. Okay. Everybody happy?
Yep.
So we agree the budget for
Yeah.
25, 26. Do we want to show our hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on then, show your hands.
Yeah.
Anybody against? No? Okay, fine, thank you. Number 7.
Little round of applause. Next.
Oh, yeah. Consider and approve the sign Finance and Administration Committee meeting held on the 2nd of July 2024, which was never done. I'll also do at the same time the full Parish Council meeting held on the 10th of December 2024. Okay? It's all right. It's okay.
Making it worse.
Can you let me have these back later in the format? Thank you.
Might be later
It's just like being at home, isn't it? Just like very different. I'll say one thing and they say something else. Okay. Right, number 8, matters requiring a decision by council, financial matters. To receive a list of the items paid to date in November, December and January, and list of items for payment. You all see them?
Yes.
Okay, good. To receive receipts and payments report.
Yeah.
Okay. To approve reconciliation from November and December. These are all done by realtors now, aren't they?
Jeff and Lynn have signed the reconciliations from November and December, but I did circulate it all to all councillors the other day.
Right, to note, unit trust have reduced their interest rate from 2.6 to 2.5. Sounds great. To consider Unity Trust as a main bank account. Did you want to say something on that?
Just that I need to set up a current account. They're in the process of adding the two signatories, because one of the councillors has already set up for online banking, and then there is a charge of £6 a month charged quarterly if we decide to use them as our current account. But they are Unity are favoured among the majority of the parish councils, apparently, according to a survey that was done recently.
Well, we're still making money out of Unity anyway. So, yeah. Okay, good. To approve Silka trainer costs.
I'm assuming that's a yes, is it?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Well, I haven't got the Silka one yet. I would suggest that. To approve the Silka trainer costs. This is a trainer to help Danielle get through her legal bits and pieces. Yeah.
Silka qualification.
Okay on it. Yeah, good.
Yep.
To approve a PO box address for clerk costs. A lot of parish councils, their clerks do have PO boxes. Their address shouldn't really be known a great deal outside of the village. Although people do know the address, it is wise for external communication to only go through a post office box. All in favour of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are these figures net, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all net.
Thanks.
I think the 330. I don't think they have that on it anyway, so it's just
No.
330. But the 35350 is net.
Aye, to consider open business savings account. That's scrap now, isn't it?
Yeah, Nationwide apparently now are not currently accepting any more applicants. I did try and call them to see when they might reopen to applicants, but no one was answering on any of the options that I chose. So I will look into other accounts before the February meeting, so that we can decide on another savings account, unless they reopen their applications by then.
Diane, do we have to speak to a head office on that, or can we speak to the local managers for Nationwide?
No.
I'm not sure. I couldn't get through to anyone. I tried option 1 and 2, and then they were just saying that no one was answering.
Yeah. I've inquired with for youth club, etc., and with a Fairlight Pavilion. They just do not do anything at branch
What with the
level
local
now.
manager? You know,
They just
don't
won't
do it.
handle business accounts or business savings, anything at local branch level.
Right.
Oh, local, sorry. I see what you mean.
Okay, thanks.
Item H, to note £500 compensation received from NatWest. And this was down to the local parish council's whinger, Councillor Cook, who finds fault with everything, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But Lynn did have a great deal of communication with NatWest with regards to people at NatWest weren't doing what they're supposed to be doing when they were supposed to be doing it. And the consequence was that after talking to the main man at the top, they kindly gave us £500 for all her work. But the money goes to the parish council, not to her. So I say thank you very much, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Done. Yeah, well done, thank you.
And we got a result as well.
Yes,
So
of
she
course,
got some,
Okay, to consider giving the clerk delegated authority to respond to planning applications. We already discussed that. Okay, that's fine.
Oh, we need them to vote. We need them to vote.
Pardon?
I need people to vote.
Okay, can you show your hands, please, in consideration of that? Yep. All carried, thank you. Defibrillator donation. You've got the paperwork, I believe, for this. This came in from the Fairlight Community First Responders. They asked whether they were telling us that it's going to cost this to have the new batteries done and a set of new pads for the defibrillator outside of the Activate hut. There was no request for money whatsoever from I forgot the young lady's name, Sandy Vivian, I believe, yes. But to my mind, we should pay for those. I think the parish council should pay for that. The email was, or the request was, not a request, but the information was, a few years ago, the PC provided a defibrillator situated on the side of the clubhouse in Woodfield. It was checked on Saturday, the battery has expired. I will be replacing the battery out of CFR funds, but just so as you're aware, this will cost £245. I will also be updating the pads at a cost of approximately £100. I'm writing for information only, as the defib will be out of use until the next battery arrives. I think that's down to the parish council to pay for those, in my opinion, for the one out on Woodfield.
I don't know. But, I don't know
have
what to
any
see it.
indication of how much it's been used?
Just a second. It's Community First Responders, CFR is saying.
All right.
Yeah.
It has saved a life, battery.
I mean, if it saves one life, it's worth far more than we're paying.
Okay. So I recommend paying that for the. All in favour?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we giving a donation for the entire
Yeah,
amount?
the entire amount, yeah. If you ask, if you reply to Sandy and ask who she wants the cheque made payable to, that's fine, thank you. Fairfest 11, to agree the use of Woodfield Saturday the 21st of June For
Do you want me to
Fairfest.
leave or just abstain?
Sorry?
Do you want me to leave or just abstain?
No, you're okay.
All right, it's
No, no.
I'll
No, this only just asked whether or not we want to.
Yeah, it's just,
Um,
it's there's only money mentioned. It's
No.
Mm.
The Fairfest Committee is planning to hold Fairfest on Saturday the 21st. This is correspondence in. We would ask permission for the Parish Council to have the sole use of Woodfield on that day. The music in the evening will finish by 11 p.m. A marquee will be erected probably on the Friday, June the 20th, and removed on Monday, June the 23rd. We will be providing portable loos for attendees. Suitable insurance will as always be in place. Could you make sure you send a copy to Daniel?
Yeah, we'll probably be applying for it prior to the event, not now.
No, that's okay, fine. Okay, thanks, Chris. The event will be free to residents. We will still be able to access Woodfield.
What about the football?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that. The football, are you going to contact the football people, or do you want us to contact them?
Would you mind,
No, we can do that.
please?
The other thing was, do you need access to the Activate Hut?
That would be nice.
Refused, don't we? Cool. Okay. Well, we've got to cross the T's and dot the I's. Okay, fine. So that's okay. That's good. Grip bin. To consider applying for a grip bin to be positioned at the junction of Lower Waits Lane and the Avenue. We had correspondence in from a resident. Read it out. Tried to order a grip bin for the junction of Lower Waits Lane and the Avenue via Rother, but directed to Balfour BT. It states that the request for a new bin has to be put forward by the Parish Council to the FRA, or the FRA, sorry. I feel it would be better via the Parish Council due to the large number of people using the lane that are not residents. The area of the ice junction is quite wide, 6 metre approximate, and I watched cars slide there the other day trying to stop and walking over that is of course very dangerous. Well, that goes without saying. What do you want to do?
Sorry, can I just
add
add something? I've spoken to East Sussex Highways, and we can have one put there. There's a one-off charge of £63, which was actually £328 in 2018. They've actually made it cheaper, but that's how much it will cost us to have it put there, and we just need to apply online.
63 quid.
£63.
Bargain. Yeah, bargain.
And I take it we're responsible for refilling the grit.
Yes, but I think we could pay for it to be refilled by them, or we can just buy it ourselves. Or I can go around and do it, yeah.
But that actually, Danielle, that does mean they actually provide the grit bin as well, does it? For that 60.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm not 100%, but I'll check it. I'm pretty sure it says for grit bin and then grit bin and refill, and then there was another one underneath. I did print it out, but I didn't bring it because I didn't think it would be necessary.
Sorry.
Okay, can we vote on the fact that we want the grit bin, the Lower Waits Lane, etc. Yeah.
Next nearest one that most interesting.
There's one
on the Broadway.
right on the corner of Broadway.
On the junction of Broadway.
But it's too small.
And then the nearest one would be on the top of Smugglers Way.
The Broadway needs it, and the Avenue and alongside the Market Garden site is all black light.
The owner of this email said that they would be happy to have it on the frontage between their oak trees on the house. So it's off the road, it's out the way. Can we leave it for the clerk to find out whether or not the cost of the grit bin is down to Rother or whether it's down to us or whatever the case may be? But all in favour of putting the grit bin there? Okay, jolly good, thank you. CCTV. Right, who wants to talk about that?
I'll talk about it. As we all know, it's been out of action for an awful long time. Why are you laughing? Basically, it was assumed that the electricity was fed by East Sussex County Council. East Sussex County Council eventually came back, or Highways, should I say, eventually came back, so I'm just trying to find the quote now. and said they don't know anything about it. We've broken into networks illegally, blah 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 blah. So they washed their hands and said, and gave us basically not a short time span. They gave us an option of them coming along and removing the broken stump permanently and terminating the electricity supply permanently, or we get it sorted sooner the better. So we've now found a contractor who is licensed with the Sussex County Council Highways, and there won't be a problem with him carrying out the work. The pillar has to be changed, the broken post has to be changed to one of those proper square pillars, and then we can be reconnected. Then came the problem of how we're going to pay for the electricity. Well, because of the low usage of the CCTV, we have what's called an unmetered agreement with the networks. At the usage first calculated last year, when the electricity was a little bit higher against the wattage of the cameras, we were talking about 1,200. It's probably down to nearer 1,000 now per annum to run the cameras, on top of a fee of, without VAT, what's that? £1,430 for the work to be carried out. There will be another further cost on that of another, I think it's, Daniel might know, is it 403, 408? Highways permission to work on highways.
490.
419, isn't it?
Oh, I've got it there.
Yeah, it's
419. Sorry.
490.
So an upfront cost of 1,850, roughly £1,000 a year usage on the electricity.
Okay, I'm just looking back at the 24-25 budget. There's £1,200 there. Is that earmarked reserves? Is that in earmarked reserves for the CCTV?
£1,200 for what?
£1,200 for the CCTV already in 24-25 budget.
Well, that would be for the normal running costs. Sorry, there's a I don't know about 24-25 budget. Sorry,
No, that's what was in there, isn't it? It's not what was spent. So it was budgeted in 24-25.
Oh, yes, that's when they thought, sorry, there was some money in the budget for this year actually, because it was thought at the time that we would do a settlement payment to East Sussex County Council for previous electricity use. And then they found out that the feed has nothing to do with East Sussex County Council.
Okay.
That's what East Sussex County Council said.
Okay.
In reality, according to the contractor who could carry out the work, he has this all the time, and there probably was permission. It probably was their post. It's just that it's not logged on their computer system anymore.
So are we all in favour of going ahead with that, CCTV?
I think the public wants it, so I think it's yes.
Chris, yeah.
Just ask a question, please. Historically, it wasn't just a feeder pillar there. There was also a lamp column with an illuminated sign
for the code,
which was on 24/7. We're not doing that anymore, are we? We don't want a light at the end of the road.
I can't comment. I've obviously spoken to the Cove pub. They do have a little bit of interest of reinstating a post, but they'll be under all of the legislation, better with the lighting,
like
especially. Sorry?
Like the pub's got lighting that you can see from Hastings.
Yeah.
I think what you're getting at, Chris, is this is a dark sky area.
Absolutely.
And hence we go back to the planning permission, where we're saying that if you've got skylights in, you need blinds on the skylights. So the lights have got to be downlighters, weak enough not to disturb anything for the dark skies.
And time to go off when the pub shuts, not left on all night. It creates a more dangerous juncture with that light on than it does with it off.
Okay.
it illuminates that corner and there's no other light anywhere
Right,
else.
the code have got to come to us if they want to put a sign on it.
No, we're not having a post. The post is
It's
coming.
just going to be a feeder pillar, isn't
So
it?
if the cove wants a sign reinstated, they'll be, having to start from fresh.
Yeah.
Right,
It's just that their electricity for it could come off the feeder pillar.
It did last time.
Okay.
Okay, watch this space.
Right, it won't be because they'll have to apply anyway to the Parish
Yeah.
Council anyway, so we will get to know about it.
Thank you.
So, all in favour of the Karen Gardner with CCTV? Okay, good, thank you, Karen. Noel Wood oak trees.
I've got some, sorry, I've just got some photos. Yeah, I'll quickly go. Get it with 3 sets. Yeah. You can show them between you. So these are the trees just behind the house.
I think I know
So
Tom
it's
the
these
house.
trees.
So you can just pass them down. Sorry, I've just done more. I've got some we share two between three people.
That's the one.
Is this a house in Woodland Way, is it?
Yeah, it's that over.
Oh, hang on, we've got, oh, sorry, yeah, so we need to see the other pictures.
So the email says, please could you kindly advise on how best to proceed to have these very tall trees properly managed. The first step may be probably the reduction of their height. I believe there is an existing survey done by a previous council which confirms that these trees, oak, are healthy, hence they will continue to grow and attain further height. These trees stand directly behind and uphill from our house. The trees sway dangerously in the strong winds that are regularly experienced in Fairlight, and should they fall or branches break off, it is with certainty that damage will occur not only to our fence, but more frighteningly to our home. And then they're obviously sent the, so they're just asking if we can.
I used to live 2 doors along here, and when we bought the house, there was one of the caveats was there was we weren't, if the trees were overgrown, etc.
Yeah.
We had no access to rights to light,
Oh.
and that as far as I was aware, there was no reduction on any of the trees; they were just allowed to grow.
Have they got TPOs on?
No, probably not.
Yes.
Well, they have.
They're in the woods,
The
and they have,
entire
haven't
wood
they?
has a
Oh, well, then that's
Yeah.
then they're entitled to grow then.
You have to apply for permission.
Chair, can I bring in Dave? Because Dave used to monitor the
Yeah.
wood before Sue took over. So David,
Sorry?
you used to work in the Knollwood before Sue
Yeah.
took over. So have you got any comment to make about pollarding the oak trees behind Woodland Way? Have you got any comments to make on that?
Well, we had one lady opposite Mr. the one who owned part of the wood near your brother-in-law.
Oh, I remember, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, up at the top.
Yeah,
of
she
the
had
road.
some concerns about a tree there,
Yeah.
which we got taken down, a perfectly healthy beech tree. And then she went and planted a conifer in the garden.
Right.
So,
But we're talking here about these oak trees in behind Woodland Way houses, and they're saying that they're really worried because they sway dangerously and
That's
they're
a
very
house,
high.
not houses.
Oh, there was one house, but it looks it
But
affects.
you start
Yeah,
with
but
one,
if you start
then
with one,
and
you
then-
end up doing all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So have you got any comments to make about that from your memories?
not
No.
really.
No. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Can I just clarify what actually is it required? Do they want the trees cut down?
Pollard.
Which is understand
Pollard.
what is
Pollard.
pollarding. So that's right, virtually ground level.
No. Taking the top bit off.
Just the top third or something like that.
Yeah. So you're not talking about the ones that overhang the fence, which is what we talked about earlier.
Oh, no.
No,
No,
this is a different thing altogether.
No, you're talking about the ones that are by the stream in
No, the ones that
Farley Way.
overhang the back garden of the house in question.
That
Yeah,
one
but-
has been dealt with.
That's we've dealt with that.
Yeah, that
We've
was the
dealt with
one
that
on the
already.
next to the footpath,
Yeah.
accessing the woodland.
So they want some of the branch higher up.
Yeah, to be
Cut down.
exactly
Yeah.
to take the heavy weight up above, but when the wind gets it, it makes the whole tree sway. And
well, you know, a fact of life. You know, if you get a strong wind, trees do sway, don't they? Which doesn't mean to say they will fall down.
No, but they could easily do it.
I've had this done at home because I've got a driveway that's lined with oak trees, and I've had about 10 trees done over 2 winters. Just reduced by a third because they're right on the edge of a ditch, and it was power lines. It's where we park our cars, and I thought if they fall over or something falls off, then it's, you know, I can't complain. You know, if my vehicle's damaged and I don't do anything about it. So we've done that, and it's cost us £2,000 to have, you know, 10 trees done. And then that was with us disposing with all the wood ourselves. That was just man up a tree, chop the bits down, put them in a pile. We sort it all out.
Well, I don't know what.
Still, that's there's an awful lot of trees, similar amount of trees. You know, there per house. You're talking an awful lot of money.
I don't know what it cost Nikki Frith, but she had hers done 2 years ago, back of us. And there was 13 she had.
You've got TPOs on.
She applied for the permission and got it passed, so it was done. But what I'm saying is, if you do that for that one house, you're going to it's a knock-on effect for everybody else.
I mean, I've dealt with this situation 3 or 4 times over in the last 5 years.
What,
and
this area?
Woodland one.
Yeah, it has come up.
And I've had to stick to our tree policy basically.
Okay.
The only thing I would say is I did request last time it came up, which was only a year ago, that when they do the tree inspection, we seek the advice of who's inspecting the trees, but there was nothing forthcoming. Well, it wasn't followed up.
They're reported as healthy. I think that's what's worrying them, because they're worried they're just going to keep growing taller and taller and then potentially fall on their property.
Could I suggest that we say that the council would approve their application to pollard and to the council tree preservation people, that we support them, i.e. we're not going to pay for it, but we'd support their application because we understand where they're coming from.
I have been there purposely on a very, very windy day, and they do sway an awful lot. I can't dispute that. If they were backing onto my back garden, I would have concerns. But the point is, we've got a tree policy, and they are covered by a TPO. So I'm sort of, you know, if anything, I would agree with you. It's up to the resident to go down the proper channels and pay for it.
What do you think, Dom? You agree?
Yeah, I agree as well. So I've got two oak tree in my garden, and they take a lot of the light, and I had them about 4 years ago cut back, you know, pollarded, and they're much healthier as well, because those you end up by having a lot of branches that dies, and then by having the pollarding down, you reduce those dead wood which are falling, and you get a much healthier tree. It doesn't mean that it's growing, you know, overnight over 10 foot.
Well, you know, I fully agree with Steve that you can't set a precedent. You have.
We can't pay for it, just be.
I think I'd like to know the extent of what they propose or what they would like done. I would hate to see the trees, you know, decimated just because they might fall a hazard. We need a little bit more detail of what they think they're going to do.
Michael, pollarding doesn't mean decimating. It just literally means, like Sarah said, about a third off the top or something, whatever the tree surgeon suggests. So it's not.
You know, but a third to one person is a third.
No.
Something to other people.
No.
But it's a process that's been carried out since, well, medieval times, or a bit even before.
And they also take all the dead branches which are already on the trees, so that's how they also work.
That's the other question. But I think, you know, as you know, my wife's very involved with tidying up Noel Wood, and she's concerned as to what you want, what is actually anticipated, what is actually what people are asking for.
Well, just pollarding, just taking the top bits off, that's all, and then making the
It's a
rest
very,
of the tree
very
healthy.
expensive job. And if
Yeah.
you do it for one person there, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but the people that own the house, you're asked when you apply for insurance, are there any trees within 5 metres of your property? So you have to put that on your insurance. But we can't set a precedent for one house because it would mean we'll have to do the whole of Woodland Way.
Well, I absolutely agree. I think you do it for one. All the others are going to start clamouring to for theirs to be done as well. I'm just interested in the extent as to which, and what boughs they're going to chop off, and what will happen to the resultant wood chopped down.
But it's got,
Is it going to be taken away, or what?
It's got-
What is the usual protocol?
the TPO, they've got TPOs on the
They
management.
have.
Yeah.
Darwin, that's all
The
TPO.
TPO officer will determine all that. So, and that's what their job is to protect and preserve trees.
People do these things, without regard to that sort of thing. It's happened. Anyway, I'm just, I should say, just commented on comments that have been made to me by Mrs. who's quite protective of.
And
But yeah, the right way to do it is to apply planning.
Yeah, they have to apply for, it doesn't cost them anything to apply for the application for it to be done. There's no charge for that, as opposed to for a planning application. But if they want it done, then they'll have to come up with the cost of what to do with it.
And ask, some detail as to what they actually intend.
It will be to
Preservation Trust that
Yeah.
will decide that.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you know what they would need to do?
Well, it's like a planning application,
Yeah.
and you need to apply to Robert preferably with a tree surgeon's report.
Yeah.
But Robert will review that, and preferably a picture and some lines on it showing which bits
Which
are
number
supposed to
of
be taken off.
Give the trees a number.
Robert's Parks and Gardens officer will review it and may come back with an alternative. I don't know.
Okay.
So shall I go back to them and say what Andrew said?
Yeah.
Check what's
Just a general question, if it's been noted these trees, in their opinion, they're dangerous, and a part of the tree fell on their property, who would be liable for that?
And they would claim under their house insurance.
That's it. So
As far as I'm aware, yeah. As far as I'm aware.
Okay.
That's what I've been told with regards to the oak trees at the back of my place. And mine are 40 foot, 50 foot high.
Yeah, I had to have 3 taken down from my property.
And they're a lot closer.
And they're a lot closer.
Sorry, can I ask a question as well? I don't know whether you're aware that there are a number of trees down on Battery Hill. Obviously that's more to do with highways. But local residents have volunteered, and a local tree surgeon has also volunteered to help, under the guidance of the police that were attending, to clear the roads, and quite quickly, well in advance of highways recently. He's a local chap, and he's qualified to survey trees, and would likely do that free of charge. So if the council at all wanted to avail of those services, I'm sure he'd be more than willing to help.
Okay. Could you send the email address to the clerk?
I can. I'll give you the name of the company. It's OTT Care, and he's done all the clearance of the trees with no expense to either highways or the parish for the ones that have fallen on Battery Hill in recent months.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you for us, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions on that? No? Okay. 14, I'm conscious of the time. There's not a great deal more to discuss. 15, leases, tennis club and bowls club. To consider proceeding with leases without the use of a solicitor. Comments, please.
I think it's a good idea.
Can't see any need for a solicitor.
No, I don't see any need for a solicitor either.
Okay, can we write to Gabby Hardwick then and say that we're not going to pursue with the leases for the tennis club
Yeah, I just wanted to check you all saw the advice that SLCC gave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You saw that. You saw that, didn't you? Daniel was just saying that he saw the advice from the Sussex.
Oh yes, yes, sorry. Yes.
About.
Yes.
And we should get legal advice. Yeah. He would say that, wouldn't he?
That's regarding the tennis club and the bowls club.
It was regarding all of the leases. So that obviously we're not talking about the pavilion tonight, but he was saying that we should get a solicitor to go over any leases that we're going to do. But
yeah, well.
Can we
I think it's the lease we're proposing with agreement with the clubs is just
between the clubs
of what they have.
Exactly.
So if nothing new needs to be added and nothing new needs to be taken away, I can't see that's why I can't see the need for a solicitor, but other people might have other reasons.
It doesn't say the Activate Club on here. Should that include the Activate Club?
It's up in the air for another month.
Can we please add that 15 where it says leases for the tennis club and the bowls club? Can you deactivate that? Leave the pavilion off for the time being. Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to employ a solicitor to deal with the leases for the tennis club, the bowls club, or Activate.
Just use the existing ones, effectively. Just renew the existing ones.
Yeah. Well, they'll need to be changed slightly.
Yeah.
They're a bit out of date. So
Yeah.
bring them up to date.
Yeah.
Okay. Correspondence. I've got a bit of correspondence here. This is about, it's not necessarily planning, but it is to do with planning, and it's not to do with planning. It's with regards to a company called Truly, who have permission to put up 4, and it is only 4 thank you, telegraph poles. They've gone from my mind for a moment. 4 telegraph poles. Councillor Groiner has been in touch with them to ask them exactly what the situation is with, and the fact that they're only putting 4 up, and they are for extension purposes only. They are going to be using current BT telegraph poles as well. Right, so they're going. It's just that they can't put 50 or 60 metres of cable from telegraph pole to telegraph pole because they'll be dangling in the road, and you know what it is. And they have to be a certain height off the road anyway. So they are putting 4 in. They are not in the way. One member of the public has asked that one be moved. It has been moved within 10 metres of where it originally went, because it was right bang smack in front of his front room window. It has been moved. The other one that was contentious was the one on the corner of Meadow Way opposite the hairdressers. Originally they'd put it right in the middle of where the curb dips, so a wheelchair or a pram wouldn't be get out along the drop curb. That's now moved. It's a little bit further away on the corner by the same place, but it's just on the corner out of the way. Okay. Truly, hang on a minute. This company do not have to apply for planning permission. They already have the rights to do this job. It's just a matter of informing us that that's what they're going to do.
Why do we need 4 new telegraph poles?
They're extension telegraph poles. So the cables can't run from where they are.
Yeah, but what?
They have to go to somewhere. They have to go to a telegraph pole.
They're Woodland Way and Meadow Way aren't served by poles.
Oh right, okay.
Yes, they need poles in the 2 roads.
Okay, gotcha.
In 2
to
years,
feed sorry, and then they span to the house on request.
In 2 years' time, when everything's supposed to be fibre anyway, my understanding is that a lot of the telegraph poles will disappear because it will all go underground. But there's a great cost to Truly to put it underground, even digging a 2-inch slot. they've got to get highways permission, and we know how much highways charge for it to be costly. So, and it all adds to the cost, but that's what they're for.
And the time it'll take to
It'll
repair the road.
They'll do it in a year's time, maybe. Yeah. Any problems with that one? No, there's nothing to discuss really on that. That was correspondence on that. Thanks for Tim for doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that when we get down to.
No, that's a different. That's a completely different matter.
What, this one?
Yeah, so that is going to be in confidential session, but this needs to be addressed under correspondence.
Okay, but it's not going to get discussed because it's going to be dealt with under there. I don't want to read it out, but it's going to be dealt with under there.
You just need to explain
okay, we've
what
had.
happened and why you should be on about it.
Okay, we had an email from a member of the public which queried the process of this parish council taking on the clerk. When the parish council, the ex-parish council and the clerk all decided to resign, it was left to two members of the ex-parish council to continue. Councillor Mear, Councillor Groen and Carl Maynard were asked by Rother to form an interim parish council. There was a clerk was there for the very first meeting. The second meeting there was no clerk. There is no law that states that you have to advertise for a clerk. It's good practice to do so, unless there is somebody that's willing to do the job and you've already got them. Advertising for a clerk is the process that we tried to follow. We asked for permission to advertise, and was it necessary? And we have been told the answer was no, if you've got somebody that's willing to do the job. In the interim parish council, the chair asked another clerk in another area if they would like to do the job. They said they could only do it in terms of telephone conversation. I made inquiries to other clerks, all of which were not happy to come to this parish council. Another one would do it over the phone. Councillor Groen asked, I'm sorry, I'm not getting the right name.
Groner.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Groner asked someone else that he knew, and they had a clerk that was working part-time, full-time. They had two clerks. One was an assistant clerk.
Oh, me, sir, I was full time.
Huh?
Sorry, I didn't know you were me. I was
No,
full
that's
time.
all right, don't worry. The two councillors that were there from the old parish council got together with the rest of the parish council, and it was left up to those people who knew how parish council worked to follow the route of a clerk. Advice was sought from Trevor Lego as to what to do. He came over with a clerk from wherever it was, I can't remember. The cost of that clerk plus the amount of fuel money it would cost to have come over here would have been dearer than the ex-clerk that was of the parish council. That was a no-no. So the problem with the question here is, did we adopt the right process? There was no proper process to deal with. Okay, there is a policy and there is a procedure, but you're stuck in a time warp in a situation where you've got to do something. We didn't have to have a clerk. You don't have to have a clerk. You do, however, have to have a responsible officer. We didn't have a responsible officer. I took on the job of doing what Danielle does now from September and October, and I was spending 5 hours a day for 7 days a week doing that job, so I know just how difficult this job is. And if you don't have to put, and I knew what that person was supposed to be doing. If you don't have the right person to do that job, all hell can break loose. This email states that, as you know, decisions of the parish council can only be made in a publicly advertised meeting of the parish council, even if that meeting goes into confidential session. That is true, but if you don't have a parish council, what have you got to do? How are you going to do it? You can't just say, well, we'll wait 2 or 3 months till we find a clerk or a RFO. We don't know where we would be. So the decision was that we asked for Councillor Grosvenor, correct? Correct. If they would introduce the parish council that had been taken on in September, for her to come down and have a word. And it again was left to Jeff, myself, Lynn and Stephen Baker, because the rest of the new parish council's members would not know exactly what the workload was for a clerk or an RFO. That's how come Danielle is here on a 3-month probation. Okay. So I've answered that. But I'm not going to pursue it anymore. If there's any queries on that, please let me know if you think I'm wrong or if you think I'm right. Fine. Send me an email.
Question on it then.
Yes, sir.
With the clerk, obviously this was the only one really considered at the time.
No, they were all considered.
They're all considered, yeah. And but as a role, as a job, you know, that must be the only job I know of that by legislation isn't advertised for anybody to apply for that role.
You don't by law. There is no law that says you have to advertise for that role.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry to say,
but
for any role. For any role, a job does not legally have to be advertised.
No.
That's
but we took advice and we asked the chair of East Sussex County Council, East Sussex Local Council, what to do, and they said, no, you don't have to if you've got somebody that's already willing to do the job.
Right. Can I just say that there was drawn up a job description and a person specification.
It was all done properly.
And is this, obviously, no names mentioned, but the clerk we got, is that the only role she does for any parish council?
No, the clerk works 3 days a week and works for another council for 2 days a week.
So my next question is, would that fee that's being paid for the clerk to do her course, and all credit to that, but Fairlight, are we the parish council paying for that, or are the others?
No, we're the only council that pays for that.
Sorry, can I just say something?
Yeah, please do.
The amount that you pay depends on how much you earn with each council. So I haven't included my other council when I applied to do the qualification. So if I had included the other council, the qualification cost would have gone up. Yeah. But because I didn't, it's only
you
fair.
You can see from here, this way of thinking, you might work for 1, 2, 3, 4, you think they will contribute to help you?
Well, I haven't put my, because I won't really use it when I'm working at the other council. Because I'm not an RFO there, I'm just an assistant clerk.
Okay.
If I put in my salary with the other council as well, the cost of the course would have gone up, so it wouldn't make a difference how much Fairlight paid either way, if that makes sense.
Can I just make a point that the other council already has an RFO, so Danielle doesn't need to put that down because they've already got an existing RFO, so there'd be absolutely no point in that.
Yeah, from this side of the table, it just seems if X works
Yeah,
for
well, we're just
Y.
explaining why not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I put the other council I work for is Icklesham, so if I put Fairlight and Icklesham on the application form to do the qualification, just for example, it would be just for example £1,000. But if I took Icklesham off and just put Fairlight, it would be 500 to Fairlight.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a difference. No, it doesn't affect how much Fairlight pay whether I add Icklesham onto the application.
Well, no,
or
that's a
not.
better understanding.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same either way, unfortunately.
Thank you for the question, Chris.
Yeah, just picking up from the question from the floor then. It's news to me that you don't have to advertise a position as a role.
You don't have to if you've got somebody that's already willing to do the job.
It amazes me, working in local government as I've done for 43 years, you don't have to do that. So are you saying that the same would apply for a service that you might want as well then? So if you wanted those trees cutting down at the back of that, you wouldn't have to go and find 2 quotes?
Oh, we would.
No,
we would have to.
But only getting, I'm not going to use the word quote, but only paying 1 wage to 1 person, that's almost...
Right, but we have had, I've had conversations with 3 other clerks who work full time and work for 3 other parish councils as well. So they're getting triple the amount of money that they're doing. So they might be doing 30 hours a week, but they're spreading that over one week, over 1 week and for 1 council. The number of people we saw, we have spoken to 2. One was Westfield. We have had we had one from, and I don't know who it was, but they came down with Trevor Lego, who was the Sussex County Local Councils. He was head of that, and he was the guy that told us, no, you don't have to advertise if you've got someone willing to do the job. The email that we had was that we should have put it out to the village. Now, having spent 2 months, 5 hours a day, 7 days a week doing that job, we could have been sitting around for months just waiting for a clerk or waiting for an RFO. Then who's going to train her? Would that be down to me to do that? Because I'm the only one here that knows exactly what the clerk does. Because I've been on the parish council for 4 years and worked with the clerk, so I know that's not done. That's never going to work. Not here. It will never work.
And if I can also intersect and say, I actually spoke to 2 people as well who were ringing to say about the job, and both of them were totally unsuitable because they lived much too far away, and again they weren't prepared to come and be proper clerks. They were only prepared.
They didn't want the jobs.
They didn't.
My additional question to the chairman then was going to be, well, are you saying that there was nobody qualified within the village that might have liked to have been interviewed for it?
Well, they'd have known about it.
Everybody knew that the clerk had packed in and we were looking for it.
He said he didn't see it advertised.
It wasn't advertised. There was no need to advertise it because there's no law to say that we have to. If there is somebody that is good enough to do the job, and
it went out on the FRA email. That the parish clerk had resigned. So everybody knew we didn't have a parish clerk. And most people knew that Steve and I were doing the job with Jeff as well, so, and the other guys. That went out on the email as well. But
just seems there's an awful lot of people that are surprised to hear that you don't. There is no.
But that's a different story, isn't it?
Chris, sorry. The whole thing is, if you go on ACAS's website, it explains it very well. There is no legality that you have to advertise for a vacant position, providing you can fill it.
I'm just saying, I've never heard of that.
No, it's not.
I don't think I'm alone.
You know, I mean, you said you work for the local council, and things like I know from past employment, 9 times out of 10, you do advertise.
Yeah, you said to apply for my job every year.
Right, but we asked.
There's no legality for it.
We asked the secretary and Trevor Legos if she would advertise it. I sent her an email and asked her if she would advertise it. She sent back 2 or 3 names. Whether they advertise it or not is down to them. That's their problem, not ours. But she was asked. Trevor Lego knew that we'd asked for it to be done because he came to my house with a secretary, with a possible RFO and officer to do the job. So whether they put it round on their paperwork or sent it wherever it was, it's up to them.
It was live on
Yeah, it
RAP.
was.
Just sent him. It was live on
Yeah,
RAP.
yeah.
It was.
Okay, well it was on live on RAP, so that's what she's saying. Just a second, Tim.
Can I just say, it's a highly specialised role, and you're
Cool.
only ever going to find it by actually targeting people and headhunting them. It's not a sort of blanket wide Hastings Observer ad that will
No.
get you, and given that the transition was handled, it was made very, very difficult for the new parish council, there was no time to do this. And so everything was handled exactly the way it should have been.
Thanks, Tim. Michael.
Also, it should be noted that it is recommended, as stated as such, that the clerk should ideally not be resident in the parish. That is black and white.
Absolutely.
So advertising it on the our FRA side would not attract people who would ideally fit the spec anyway.
Yeah, well done. Good point.
Yeah, can I just correct something that I said earlier as well? I said that the qualification class differs depending on the salary of one or two or however many councils you work at. It's not that makes a difference to. It's the SLCC membership. I just wanted to correct that. So it doesn't make a difference for the cost of the qualification whether you're at one or two or three or four councils. It's the same all the way through. It's just the membership that changes cost. Sorry, I got that wrong.
Okay, thanks.
That's right, no worries.
Okay, we move on. Okay, 16, that was done. 17, reports from councillors. Any reports from councillors? Water Wakes, Lower Wakes Lane?
Only that it's so far, touch wood, it's going okay, and I again would appeal to people to actually, please, if you've got any interest or doubts about Pathfinder, there's an awful lot of doom and gloom things going around about the Pathfinder system's not working. Well, that's absolute rubbish. It is working, and it has. They've done a load of work. They've relined all the sewers, and that has had a tremendous effect because there were loads of gaps in the sewers where the old pipes had moved due to land movement and ingress of roots and various things like that. So that's all been done, it's realised, and it's now working brilliantly. Touch wood, there haven't been, excuse me, Sarah, there haven't been any more floods so far. And the Pathfinder are doing a tremendous job, so in all the work's being done. So please go and see the Pathfinder people at the village hall. This will be put up. It's on next Thursday, 6th February, between 3 and 7 here in the village hall. There'll be all the sort of task force people here to talk to and ask any questions, make any complaints to, whatever. So please, you might spread that around. These are going to be put up on notice boards, so please I'll tell your friends, or if you hear anybody making negative comments, can you please ask them to come to the meeting. Thanks very much.
Okay. Any other reports?
I wrote to a report on email on the site visit that was made before Christmas by Jeff and Sarah to footpaths Fairlight 32 and 34, which is access to Knollwood. What I'd like is to progress this, and I thank you who commented on the report, to progress it to see if we can get some perhaps quotations or whatever is necessary to clear it, probably in the springtime. And I would like it discussed and see whether we should be doing something about it to make it safer.
Can we have that as
The
a
next
February item, please?
An agenda item for February. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I just as by the by, I actually went to look at that footpath again today.
Yeah.
It is lethal. That's all I
It is, yeah,
it is
yeah.
very dangerous.
It will, I think it'll be a continuing problem, but we can do something to mitigate the effect.
Oh yes, yeah.
Can we also put on, we seem to have moved on to number 19 and missed out 18 at the moment. Can we please put on the tennis court access
Yes.
Yeah.
on the agenda as well? You've got that already?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, we'll go back to 18. Christmas light winners. To announce the Christmas light winners. First place was 23 New England, Rockmead Road, and second place was 31 Knoll Road. They're all very good. I unfortunately didn't go around to look at them because I tend to get run over by people, so I don't go out. But other people did, and they were all very good. Have you written to them?
I haven't seen that yet, no.
No, I thought I did, didn't I? And I sent you the
Oh,
sign.
Yeah, I'll send them out to you tomorrow.
You can't be the star.
So to say it's getting harder and harder to judge because they get better and better, and we now have so many previous winners.
Yeah. Okay, 19 items for consideration of future agenda. Anybody got anything they want to put on the agenda? Michael?
I've been trying to find some sort of list of street furniture.
That's already on the list.
Is
That's on the agenda to speak about in February.
In
Part of the
February,
benches,
fine. I can't find any detail anywhere. I looked on the website, looked at all sorts of bits and pieces, and I can't find anything which tabulates what we actually as a council own in terms of
It comes,
assets.
it's on the headings. On the headings on the website, one of them drops down and says assets. Gives you a list of the assets that we've got. On the website.
It doesn't itemise the various.
Yes, it does.
Does it?
It's got every single asset that we own.
No, I missed that then.
I'll send you a link to it.
Okay, thanks.
Fairlight Pavilion, all being well.
You want that, put that on the agenda, Fairlight Pavilion.
Hopefully, by then we
VE
can have an
day.
update on the
Yes,
VE.
we'll look to meet.
Yeah, VE day.
Yeah. We'll meet for
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the agenda? Nothing? No. Okay. 20, date and venue for the next meeting is here, and it's what date?
25th February.
25th February at 7 p.m. If there's a planning meeting, it will be at 6:30.
February 25th.
25th. Yeah.
Last February, last Tuesday of February.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I suggest that we have an open forum before we go into confidential session?
Yeah. Yeah, we can. Yeah. Yeah, it's not on here. So
It's up to you, but it's not on there. We've got 10 minutes left.
no, it's not. We will go into open forum now, so that's anything from the public if they've got anything they wish to raise, talk about. You've got a couple of minutes, Andrew.
Could I just ask, where are we with the general power of competence?
Until the clerk gets her qualifications, we don't have it after April, May.
Well,
It ends in
on
May.
the annual assembly.
The annual assembly.
We'll lose the annual assembly without still qualification.
And how long will it take to get the qualification?
As quick as you can finish
It
doing it.
depends. Some do it in 4 or 5 months, and other people take a year to do it. But you've got a year to do it. But I'm hoping it won't take a year.
Absolutely, I'm sure it'll be much faster.
I hope so.
Sorry, Maggie.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I just put my hand up when you were covering item 17. As part of the Pathfinder parishioner contingent, which Lynn and other members in the community are involved with, I want to stress about the devolution elements to the impact that this could have, because obviously in the wider scheme of things, the asset management plan of Southern Water's plans for the future, major improvements in terms of infrastructure and coping with what we already have in terms of development of works won't commence before 2050. So this is quite a large area of capacity or undercapacity that we have currently that is open for concern in terms of future development. So with what was talked about with Councillor Maynard earlier on, it's a grave of concern, and obviously I'm quite experienced in the hydraulic side. I agree with, Lynn. You know, an awful lot has been done, but an awful lot still needs to be done as well. And there is one stretch, which although it appears to be not related because it's on the weights lane side, not the lower weights lane side, they are hydraulically connected and will impact one another, and that still requires, although it indicates to the contrary, it still requires quite a bit of work. And I'm hoping to address that at the next Pathfinder meeting that we attend.
Okay, are you coming to next Thursday's meeting with Pathfinder people here?
Yes.
You are? Perhaps you'd like to ask the question?
I'll be actually addressing that at the future Pathfinder meeting, which is not on the 6th. That's an open forum, am I correct?
Yeah, next Thursday is an open one for the public.
Yeah.
Not the main Pathfinder.
No, the main
meeting.
Pathfinder I will be addressing some of the key concerns that I have with regard to infrastructure and what's coming in the future at that particular meeting. But I just wanted to stress it to the Parish Council that it is very much of a concern still to the community, despite the efforts that have gone ahead. It's not a negative comment, it's just a matter of their asset plans that they're looking to construct and how long realistically we're looking at major infrastructure upgrading, if indeed that is at all possible.
Okay.
There is some question about that.
Okay.
I think it was a bit earlier than 2050, but you could be right. I had a feeling.
Asset management 14, I believe, was any major works.
If you're able to come next Thursday to the open meeting for all the public, that would be useful because you could actually make your point to all of them then.
Yes,
as well.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy
So
to
that
do
way
so.
feed upwards as well as.
I think what's more important is probably my presence at the actual Pathfinder meeting because these are issues that we need to address as well at that particular meeting directly to Southern Water.
If you do it next Thursday as well, they'll feed it back up.
If I can, I will try and endeavour.
They'll feed it back upwards. So they'll be upwards and they'll go.
They're fully aware. I mean, I've been in touch with, as you know, from Southern Water for quite some time and under several freedom of information requests which still haven't been honoured after 3 years. So, you know, in order to get all the information and make informed decisions that will help the community, it's important to have all the, the information in front of me. And I've been promised this for a long time, but it's still not forthcoming, sadly. But I digress. You know, there is still much work to be done.
Okay.
So long as the parish is.
Okay. Thank you very much
for your time.
Anybody else? Okay. Right. The council will now consider a resolution to go into confidential session on the grounds that the following business would disclose exempt matters. So I need a proposer from one of the councillors to do that. You propose that, Jeff proposes it, and Lynn seconds it. All in favour? Carried, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the Parish Council meeting. Thank you very much. See you next time.
What's your name?